Hello YouTube, this is Sibbles and Bits, back at it again with another another showcase really of a game for Roguevember, which is a month that we are dedicating to some of my favorite roguelikes of all time. And so today we are going to be looking at Arcanium. Arcanium is it's like if you played Slay the Spire, but you had three different party members and each of those party members had a different deck. It's made by X Hearthstone devs, so you're going to see a lot of similarities there, but those similarities are kind of going to immediately fade away. Like the battle screen looks very similar, the way that the cards are presented and all that. I heard someone, or I remember someone told me that this reminds them a lot of Hearthstone Adventures, Hearthstone Dungeons, something like that. I don't play American Gacha myself, so I don't know exactly what the correlation is there. But it honestly plays a little bit more like Artifact, where each hero owns a lane, and so they can primarily attack into their lane, but some instances allow you to attack other lanes. Now, between battles, we're going to be going through an overworld, and that's kind of like the main thing that sets it apart from most other roguelikes, is most other roguelikes kind of go with the Slay the Spire, like, branching map. In this one, you actually have, like, a board game style, like, hexagonal world that you start at random points of interest or at random points, and you actually travel between different regions, which are actually notably different. And that's part of, honestly, that overworld like manipulation and all that is part of what initially drew me to the game, and then took a break on it because it was like way too easy. Came back, got hooked into the game again, played like 300 hours of it in a single year. Um, and I honestly want to share it with you guys so that more people deserve to play it, because if more people did play it, it'd probably be getting supported to this day. So that's definitely one of the things to note ahead of time, is that development for the game has indefinitely been postponed. Basically, didn't have as much concurrent players as they wanted, wasn't making enough money. Publishers said that they were going to have to drop it. And they did that before they were able to install the difficulty pluses at the end game. Current highest difficulty is called Apex. They were going to go into like Apex Plus or Apex 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. And so once you actually get a hold of the game, the actual top end of play is nowhere near the power level of the player. So it gets a bad rap for being too easy, much to the point to where I would play all random teams and a whole bunch of other negative modifiers or like challenge rules that I would put on myself. And then at that point, it was still very easy to win. And then I would meme on top of it, and then that would probably cause me to lose, right? But that's how I pretty much ground out another like 250 hours out of this game, was just playing all random teams. Again, perfectly viable, and provided a lot of interesting interactions with the game. If you like what you see and you want to pick up Arcanium for yourself, currently on sale due to the autumn sale, there will be a link down in the description below. If you don't want to pay for the game, which I understand, again, I think that you should be supporting the devs, but if you have a Netflix account, this game is free on Netflix games. So on the Android app or the Apple Store, I believe, you can go ahead and download the game, play it for free so long as you have an active Netflix account. Only thing to note is that the Netflix account is significantly further behind on bug fixes for the current patch. So you're going to run into some nasty stuff, and because the game's no longer being supported, it is what it is, unfortunately. Um, Other than that, if you enjoy what you see and want to see more content, tons of content down in the channel. Because again, we primarily played this for like an entire year, so there's a lot of content in there. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the game. So there is an arena mode, which is pretty much just like it's like adventure mode, but more streamlined. It's more Slay the Spire, or actually more like Mortal Kombat, where you've got to fight 7 battles against like almost specifically boss battles, but they juice you up as well. We're not here to show that off. We're here to show off adventure. We're going to go all the way up into Apex. I haven't played this for a while, so I'm more than open to get myself bopped. Now, the game has like a they have quite a bit of characters available. I think it's somewhere close to 20. And each of these characters, you can see, has 2 different colors below them. And again, this is kind of like I'm told that this is kind of like Hearthstone. I figure it more to be more like a monster train, where each of the symbols technically denotes a separate play style. But more importantly, at this level in the game, enemies can have resistances to certain types of damage, which is from these certain types of cards. So, not only does Angorn here, who is a healer, have access to green cards, he also has access to yellow cards. That does include his own personal cards, which only he can equip, but also any generic cards, which is hard for me to look at right now, that are green or yellow. And so, in actuality, Angorn can do a multitude of things, not just like he focuses more on regeneration, which is healing over time, shielding, and thorns damage. He doesn't necessarily have to do that because he also has access to yellow cards, which has a lot of single target nuke. So he can also be your nuker. And that's part of what makes all random viable, is the fact that you're not exactly curtailed into precisely what Angorn's doing at the start of the game. The other thing that every character has is every character has access to 3 separate ultimates, which I'm not going to say it doesn't change how you play the game. It's not as drastic. Like, some of them are obviously like significantly more equal than others, but otherwise it's not something that'll like make or break your game. It's just guaranteeing that you have certain tools. Like, for instance, most people who play Angorn in a pre-made will take Soothing Rain because access to a cleanse for the whole team is invaluable. And we'll go over what exactly these mean once we actually get into combat. And game fully supports all random. This will also randomize their ultimates. But what I'm probably going to do today is showcase how I would potentially play the 2 characters that you, or not the 3 characters that you start with, which is Milady, Leon, and Aurora. Let's go ahead and put them on their default ults as well, because a lot of people have a lot of difficulties with this lineup, because this is the lineup that they give you at the start of the game, and they're like, don't worry, this is a low difficulty lineup. I actually don't believe that, because they gave you 3 tanks. But when you play the game, you don't realize that you have 3 tanks. You take these 2 characters and you're like, okay, I've got a melee DPS and a ranged DPS and a tank. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to showcase this. Otherwise, again, like, you can pretty much play whoever you want. Personally, my favorite characters are Lady Lazar, who is kind of like a ironclad, uses his own life in order to have better cards, but also regenerates life by playing cards, makes him a good HP battery. And Celeste, who is she's pretty much the exclusive Shock character, and Shock is a status effect that is now the most broken thing in the game. Anyways, we'll go ahead and we'll start. And the first thing that you do is you choose your starting province. So like I said, you're actually traveling across like a map. Originally, there was intended to be 8 different biomes. I would love to live in the timeline where that could happen. But unfortunately, we're stuck with 3. And going to a specific starting area will obviously impart you with sort of like a whale bonus. It's a bonus that you keep for the rest of the run. Like, technically speaking, like party plus 10 health is obviously for the entire run, 250 gold, and the abilities at the start of the run. But usually, if you upgrade an ability here, it's going to be something that you keep for the rest of the run. Again, at this difficulty, it's also important to note these colors here. So these are the colors of the enemies that are in these specific zones, and so they are resistant to their own color. So if you have, like, say, a mono green set, you probably don't want to go into Anador because all your green damage is straight up halved there. And so that sort of like curtails you into a specific area. Also, each area has their entire, we can go ahead and just like select this here. Each area has their own pool of artifacts, which are items that you can equip to heroes. They have varying varying rarities, and each hero can hold 3 artifacts. Notably, though, they cannot hold the same artifact twice. That very rarely becomes a thing because in most cases they're exclusive, but you can duplicate some items in some ways. They also have their own bestiary, and these aren't really sorted in order, but if you take a look at this, actually doesn't state this. Normally they state them as easy, normal, and hard enemies. So you can take a look at all your easy enemies, and these are the enemies that you're going to be fighting at the start of the game. And then, of course, as the game goes on, they're going to start melding in some normal enemies and then some hard enemies, and eventually you're only going to be facing hard enemies. And we're just going to... So most people would say that Anador is obviously the best place to start because it gives you 10 health. You honestly can't get 10 health, like, anywhere, except from a shrine, which is a green shrine, so it can only occur in Anador because it's allocated to green. So it feels pretty good, but it also has access to some of the most dangerous mobs in the entire game. That said, there are a ton of unlocks that occur when you explore or just do nodes in those zones over time. And what's regarded as one of the easiest teams to win the game with, two of those unlocks are at Anador. So I would grind that area until you get those heroes, and then you can pretty much start doing what you want and like learning the game. That's my opinion, but also my opinion, I think that Anador is a trap, and we are honestly going to go with either Uzir or Scorchlands. Scorchlands is probably the second most deadly place because they inflict a lot of debuffs for damage over time on you. And so if you don't have Cleanse in your base kit, surprise, we don't, then that can become very dangerous. So we might just go ahead and go to Uzir, even though they completely resist Aurora's damage because she's red-yellow. But the starting money is actually quite powerful. So, bunch of stuff happening on the screen right now. They do have a run timer. There was a bit of a speedrun community going. If you want to get into that, you very well can. And now we get to choose our world quests, which is sort of like our side objectives that we're working on. And they also tell us which zone that they're in. Now, explore 10 tiles in Scorchlands and destroy 20 enemies in Scorchland for upgrade 2 abilities. I actually really like these, especially because you can't really see it, but these tiles over here, that's Scorchlands right there. And we are spawned like somewhere right here. We can easily go up over there. We're going to go ahead and re-roll this. I will take a random item for 2 locations in Uzir. This feels good to me. So now, first thing that happened was all of these meteors fell from the sky. What those are is those are sort of like your elites. They call them super elites here. They will give you the best rewards in the game. However, they're quite strong. So, obviously, what we want to do is we want to gain as much power as we possibly can before threat 3 or 7 and then fight these elites. The reason why it's 3 and 7 is because at every 4th difficulty, that's when that wrapping occurs, and instead of fighting 3 easy enemies, you're now fighting a normal enemy. Super elites are accompanied by elite enemies, and every elite enemy, let's see if I can't take a look at that actually. Every elite enemy has a passive, and they're generally not good for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at this person. So they have double the health, they have better cards, and he has static conduit. Apply 2 shock upon receiving 8 direct damage or more. So if we are able to take a shard boss at threat 3, then it doesn't roll over to threat 4. They don't have a normal enemy. That normal enemy doesn't become an elite. They don't have a passive bonus. They have half the health. It's significantly easier. However, not every crew is very good at taking shard bosses that early. Anyways, that's a lot of explanation. These are what fights look like. These little like effects here are just area hazards. Some of these are actually good for us. Most of them are bad or like affect us and the enemy equally. This is a quest for our world quest to explore 2 locations in Ozir. This is the capital of Ozir. This is the capital of the Scorched Lands. And up here's Anador, so here's that capital there. So the capitals are basically just, they're always at a specific location. You have an inn there that can heal you in case you don't have a healer. There's also campfire tiles that are in separate areas that can heal you. You can upgrade cards there. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's usually a place where you want to go to have access to a heal and be able to buy like goods, especially us because we have a ton of money. Nothing to do with it. This tile is a light shrine. There are shrines for each area. So Ozir again is red, yellow, purple. So they have a red, yellow, and a purple shrine. At our difficulty, one of those is removed at random. We don't know. We happen to spawn next to this one, but since there is a battle next to it, we are not able to go into this node. So I would kind of like a light shrine, so we're going to kind of path around this way right now. Okay. So at the start, we can go ahead and move our heroes around however we want. Again, the main reason for that is because we have resistances in play at this moment. So we really don't want Lady or Aurora to really be fighting the Scorpion. But in actuality, that's probably fine for Aurora to be over there because she's got quite a bit of yellow damage. And Lady's primary damage is red, so we definitely don't want her over there. So this is looking pretty good. If you are starting out, this is actually a setting. Set hero positions before battle on. So you'll want to make sure to do that. I also have hide character dialogue. That might be important for some of you guys. And we will go ahead and start our turn. So, at the start of our turn, we, at a baseline, will get 3 energy, which is denoted by these pips right here. And we will draw 3 cards. The top left of this card here not only shows its energy cost, or AP, it will also show what type of a skill it is. So you can see that this one is a sword. That means that it's melee. I cannot target the middle lane with this, but if I lunge, I can. Reason behind that is that this skill also has dash. So it will allow me to move into the lane and swap with the person there and deal my damage. So, the other notable thing about Lady, let me go ahead and actually describe our characters here. She has a passive. Technically, everybody has a passive. Lady's passive is that she gains 1 might, which is just +1 damage for the rest of the turn. Every time that she plays a red card, every time that she plays a blue card, she gets 2 shield. So she's actually incredibly deceptively tanky, and she tends to lean more into multi-attacks, but she has tons of dash in her kit. And with some of the, let's say, artifacts in Uzir, that's kind of important, and why I kind of like decided to go into here. Leon is our tank, and he basically just starts with 4 shield each turn. Pretty simple, not really exciting, but 4 shield is 4 shield. Aurora will deal 2 burn damage whenever they hit her, which seems a little counterintuitive, but like I said at the start, we have 3 tanks. Aurora's core cards in her kit that only she gets access to are actually make her deceptively tanky, as opposed to most other people. So sometimes she wants to get hit. Anyways, this is Solar Blast. It's dealing damage in an area, so I can go ahead hit the middle here, and you can see the damage preview here. Guy on the left is taking 4 damage, guy in the middle and right are taking 2. Again, that is just because of their resistance. That seems a lot better than using a fireball here, honestly, but the main problem with Aurora is that she has a lot of 2 costs in her deck. And so that actually means that she usually ends up... I'll take that damage. She usually ends up with spare will here. Or spare action points. I play too many games like this. Another notable thing is that you can also shuffle people at any time, and that costs 1 will for the person who initiates the move. So I could just decide to swap here, and that would use 1 of my will. AP. Oh man, I'm going to get that wrong. Been playing too much Inkbound recently. So the reason why I'm not going to do that is because AP banks over turns. So next turn I'm going to get another 3, I'm going to have 4, I'm going to be able to use 2 cards. I'm perfectly fine with that. You may also have noticed that there's a little like pip gauge down here. And what that is that is actually our ultimate. So we have Radiant Armor selected for Leon, which is 8 orange. That is referred to as Fury in this game. And so basically what that means is when I spend 8 action points, I get access to my ultimate. And his ultimate gives him 2 immune, which allows him to just straight up block any 2 hits, no matter how much damage that they do. I am going to go in on this sad partner here. And then we're going to end our turn. So enemies have a deck of 3 cards that they're also cycling through as well. So when you actually start getting used to the game, you start to realize AI deck, if you want to call it that. And so you get a very good idea on what they're trying to do. I really want to try and destroy this man. I think that we can destroy this man. There we go. So this is an elusive, sometimes spawns when you kill enemies. And basically we have 1 turn to try and kill this enemy. We will get 1 gold per damage we deal, but if we can kill him, we get bonus. This is a chance, and it's just a little extra thing that's in there. I don't know how else to explain it. And I am going to not let Aurora take that debuff. It doesn't really matter, so I'm going to just go ahead and pounce over here. Honestly, a bit of a waste. If we would have done Milady's turn first with good ordering, we probably could have killed both of those enemies. Not too concerned, honestly. So, I want to try and kill this elusive, because that's in my best interest. we're going to miss it. Probably because I used that pounce a little early. We didn't get good cards here. It is what it is. We at least did a lot of damage. That is backlash. So that's thorns. I really don't want to get into that. Pity I took damage from that, but we're going to go ahead and use immune and just stall out this turn. Might as well get your ult ready. Might as well get your ult ready. Conflagration gives shield steal. And this is, again, sort of going into exactly what I was saying there. So shield steal means that she gets shields for each point of damage that she does. So I think we're going to take that out of these options here, and we will equip that card. So now we're going to go into Aurora's backpack, and we're going to take a look at her deck. One thing to note is just like Vault of the Void or some other, I can't think of any other deck builders at the moment, you're able to completely alter your deck at any point in time. Only problem is that you have to have at least 9 cards, and your starting deck is your starting cards, 3 of each. So, I can very well put this in here, but as people who play a lot of deck builders know, the best thing to do is to have the smallest deck possible because it's more, how to say, it's more reliable, right? Like that's usually Deck Builder 101. This game uses a lot of curses or like blights that they put in your deck on elites, and so that's sort of how they try to balance that. Otherwise, there is a benefit to having a larger deck up to 14 cards. If you go up to 12, you will get your ult plus. Normally, you cannot upgrade your ult, but this will do that, and usually it's a considerable benefit, especially early on in the game. If you get down to 14 or up to 14, your ult will have -1 fury cost. So this will cost 9 fury instead of, 10 fury. And so on certain characters and certain setups, it actually is in your best interest to have a bigger deck. But usually not all the time. I would say most times you don't want to do that. We're going to go ahead and replace the Solar Blast with a Conflagration because it's just straight up better. We will take this Light Shrine. Your light cards produce extra damage, shielding, and healing. So we have both Aurora, who has her AoE for 4, and Leon, who can deal both damage and shield off of yellow cards. So light power isn't too bad. Smiting will give us... I don't think that I can look at it with... There we go. It applies 3 shock, and what shock does is for every shock that's on an enemy, when you hit it, it will deal an equal amount to adjacent enemies. Doesn't matter how many times you hit it or, for what you hit it for. So Lady in particular, who's more inclined towards multi-striking, is very strong with smiting because for one of her actions, she can suddenly do 6 to 9 to 12 AoE to the entire enemy field. Of course, we're in a light resistant area, so this loses a bit of value. The other thing to note is that this is 0 cost ranged, and it expends, gets out of your deck after the first use, and then draws a card. So you might be thinking, okay, this is bogging down my deck a little bit more. Since it's a 0 cost, draw 1 card, it technically doesn't take any space in your deck. Honestly, I think that Fortitude is probably what we're looking at here. Or we could just go for Light Power just for raw damage. Then we're going to go with Fortitude. We don't have a healer, and so having that to help out a little bit is kind of nice. We have a lot of card rewards here, which is kind of interesting. Probably should use this while I was in the middle. It's an ordering issue there. So I'm going to try to keep talking down to a minimum so that we can actually get to a decent place here. But I'm hoping to show off an elite shard, and then maybe call it a day. I don't know. Let's go ahead and use that. By the way, this vulnerable is just causing enemies to take 50% more damage, which is quite good. I'm fine with taking this 3 damage because we heal 3 at the end now. Let's go ahead and put that on there. It does an amount of damage. We're going to have backlash for this turn. And then it's going to ult. That's perfectly fine because we're just going to use Leon in order to eat all that damage. But he does need to charge his ult. Let's actually lunge this away. Hit that up. There's a bit of an issue. Yikes. Lady's going to take quite a bit of damage here. For some reason I thought I had lethal there. Maybe the best move was to push into this Molt Scorpion swap over there. A bit late for that now. Pyro Burst will do quite a bit of damage. That'll kill. We don't have any heals. Oh, another thing that I haven't been explaining, which is kind of important. We'll get to that later. Excuse me. Thank you. Destroy all shields, deal damage. Retain taunt. This is kind of good because it upgrades into 0 cost. Can't quite remember if shields are going to be an issue here, if we're going to want this. The retain is always nice. Might be nice to have that on Aurora. I think we'll take a Molten Shield. That's fine. Go ahead and equip it. So, up at the top here, we are gaining what's called Essence, which is essentially our party XP. Every time that we fill this, we can either take any one of our heroes, and we can give them +1 AP per turn, or +1 draw per turn. And then obviously, like depending on your situation, that may change. What you want is maybe AP, maybe you want draw. Generally in the early game you want to get AP on as many heroes as you can, but some instances are different. Another thing that you can do is sacrifice that level to heal all of your party members. When you do all random, that gets used more often than probably other players would like to see. However, we shouldn't need that this time, I would think. Anyways, this is an Oracle, which we will fiddle around with this after we take this card pile here. I think I need better cards for Leon at the given moment. Shockwave is a lot of frickin' damage. Access to power is pretty good too. We just get all these though. That's the one thing to note. So, I'm willing to get rid of probably a Solar Blast. For that, I want Power Grip, I want Challenge, I want Shockwave. Ulti Plus, sure. Yeah, we'll take it. Generally speaking, I like to keep my tanks thick. No pun intended, maybe. So now, what the Oracle does is it basically is your RNG curbing, but it's like with more RNG. We can either up tier an ability, take an ability and then up tier it from like green to blue to purple to legendary. And so if you have a bunch of oracles available and you want to rush a legendary on a character, you can very well do that. If we had access to artifacts, we could do the same thing with those. Notably, regardless of where the artifact originally came from, it's going to give you an artifact of the location that you're currently in. Again, each of the biomes has their own artifact pool. And so we can get a bunch of artifacts here that may not be good for us. We go up over to Scorchlands for the rest of our quests. We can turn those into up-tiered artifacts of Scorchlands artifacts. I think we're going to go ahead and upgrade 2 random cards. Crusader Strike Plus is pretty good. Solar Blast Plus is also relatively decent. Let's just make sure that's the one in our deck. It's not. Keck W. Alright, it is now the one in our deck. Most upgrades will increase the efficiency of a card by around 50%. There are some differences. Now I would kind of like cards for Lady. Oh, baby. These are like the perfect cards. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. Give me Outplay, give me Parry. Do I want Riposte? I think maybe I want Riposte. And I'm fine with her being a little thick too. And then we're going to go immediately into the Shard battle. Hopefully it doesn't bop us. Okay, so enemy info. He gains 2 immune at the start of each turn, quite annoying. Gives a bunch of people shielding for his ultimate, which is rather low. Otherwise, honestly, he just stalls out the fight. This is probably the best thing that we possibly could have gotten. We can give him a debuff in order to, or a buff in order to gain an extra thing. A campsite obviously allows us to heal ourselves, but if we're looking good on health, then we're able to use it to upgrade cards. I can't remember. Is this a major? This is a major debuff. So if we make him immune, he can still be vulnerable, but we won't be able to burn him out, which is quite considerable. I think that this is honestly bad for us. Like, actively bad. So we're just going to go ahead and battle him. And hopefully we don't get ourselves trounced here. Because I kind of want to show off the rewards. And we did get a normal elite, so he just takes less damage from us. Is basically all that does there. And we want to own this fight as soon as possible, or in other words, we kind of want to kill these side lanes because him by himself is not difficult in the slightest. Move you over there. Go ahead, take that over here. We're going to go ahead, hit you. You're going to take a whole crap ton of damage. We're willing to be alright with that. And we might as well hit it with the large AoE on the other dudes here. Give you some burn. That was honestly a very unfortunate draw. I kind of want to put Outplay in play, but I'm not sure now's the right time. Go ahead, get that out there. We're going to put more burn on you because you're going to hit us. We actually want that. We are perfectly fine here. Go ahead, hit you with a pummel. Hit you with that. Going to Radiant Armor through your nonsense there. Stack more burn. Next turn we're going to have 5. That's going to be perfect. Parry honestly isn't going to do anything. Honestly, we're not being targeted. A lot of stuff isn't going to do anything. So we're going to keep our ult for next turn when we can actually like deal more damage. And we're not going to have access to parry, so let's just go ahead and... Actually, we're currently debuffed for damage over time. Let's go ahead and do that. Conflagration gives shield steal. We're kind of about it. This gives us more damage. It might be Power Grip, Intercept, Crusade. We can do everything you want to do from over here. You can get burned. That's probably fine. The only thing that I want to do is I kind of want to pop your ult here. Because I want to make sure. I can't remember if this allows you to still ult or not. Probably should have done this first. Add that vulnerable. Dual strike. Riposte. Okay, we're probably going to be fine. Power Grip. I'm not sure where your AP went. I thought you had 4. This is the worst day of days. Okay. Regardless, this is pretty much solved. He's going to try and ult again. But we should be able to deal 12 damage. Hopefully. And there it is. You are not going to be fine. Shield yourself. You have 5 burn on you. We're probably actually going to die here. Unless we can come up with some fancy shit. Gain 3 burn would be way too much damage. We can't take that. Go ahead, do all that. We need shielding. Then I guess we're going to hit you with that. And we're going to hit you with this. Okay. Next turn, we're going to have to figure some shit out. Intercept over here. Use the ult. We are now fine to power grip you. Oh. I think we're finally starting to get to the point where things are looking good. The only problem is that Aurora is almost about to burn to death. Thankfully, shouldn't be a problem. All right. We have no shielding here. That's not Not good? Can you be stunned? Cannot be affected by stun. So this is what we're going to do. Pull you there. Move, move. Kind of a waste. We're really on the skirt edge here. Thank God we have outplay, and they're taking a turn. This burn is really doing it for us, even though it may not look so. Lady's gonna be in a world of hurt, though. Never mind, she's fine. She's fine, people. Go ahead, take care of that. Then I think move you into play for free. Oh boyo. This is admittedly rough stuff. We've got no blue cards for which to block. Shield Steel. Is that going to actually do anything? No. You also have Backlash, which is kind of the thorn in our side. Still not going to be enough. He doesn't have enough shielding. He's going to be overkilled by like 6. But we can at least... you're going to reflect 5. So can we end... No, you have shields. We can't really end you. So let's go ahead, shed all that. Nine times 1. That's certainly better. Okay. I guess what we probably should have done, if I could undo, is actually killed Milady, since she was going to die anyways. Yep, we're done here. Which is a little unfortunate. So while I don't recommend this, if we go ahead and exit the main menu, we should... I thought we would be able to continue our game, but we just straight up lost. Anyways, that was a good way to show how not to play the game. Hopefully it was a good demonstration. I might try another one just to show off, like, air quotes, like, a good team. especially because we really didn't even start going into stuff like the minion layer. We didn't start showing stuff like artifacts at all. We didn't get any. We didn't get any heirlooms and just showing that power progression. But yeah, otherwise it was a at least a good demonstration of how the flow of the game works. And hopefully, I don't know, may have gotten some of you guys interested. If this did get you to at least try out the game on the Netflix version or buy the game, be sure to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, if you have any other feedback, be it questions, concerns, comments, misplay alerts,